Welcome to Marshland Histories, the oral history podcast series celebrating the people, the places and the marshes of the Lower Waveney Valley. In this episode, we'll be heading back to the 1950s and 60s and meeting Carlton Colville's village policeman. He really was the village Bobby. His name was PC Robert Howes, but in truth, he was always known as Bobby. And I've been told again and again that he was the man who kept the village in order. With his wife Joan and their 6 children, Bobby Howes moved into the old police house in Beccles Road in 1952. And I've been speaking to 2 of their daughters, Geraldine and Christine, about their family's life in the village, which followed their father's courageous service in the RAF during the Second World War.
He was a rear gunner in Lancaster. He did double the sorties they did.
He fitted, I think 52 was mentioned, 52 sorties.
But one coming back, we'd been in the plane hours and hours, and you see in the cockpit on a Lancaster, so small. And he said he just stood up to move. It was freezing cold, and as he stood up, the plane just strafed from the bullets. And he stood up, and it came through the cockpit, and it hit his Leather Boys Brigade belt, because he sat down again, and they got home. When they took it belt off, with the hole slit through it like that saved his life. If he'd have been sitting down, it would have gone straight through his head. And then you think they went on to have 6 children. Quite amazing, really. He was very lucky. After the war, I suppose, they didn't know what to do with these men when they all came back.
I don't know if it was his father said to him, because his father obviously worked on the trawlers as fishermen, that he was too good for that, and I think he sort of helped him make his mind up. And I was actually joining the police. You see, you've got a house thrown in.
So he went to Felixstowe then. When he first joined up, he was in Felixstowe. Yeah, they were quite happy to come back.
Yeah,
because both parents were ultra board and Lowestoft. Money was tight, especially if you had 5 children. And he used to cycle when he was doing his rounds. He'd get margarine or something at the shop in Rushmere. There was a corner shop. Because it was cheaper. He'd bring Mum back margarine or whatever she wanted from there. So they, even then they had to think about what you spent your money on. Like when they were harvesting the peas, I remember a tractor would go by and they'd fork a whole thing over our gate. And we'd have to sit. But Christine, take that basin and go and pick the peas off it.
Yeah.
Things like that. An occasional pheasant, I think we used to.
Yeah, at Christmas time.
Christmas. He'd find them hanging on the gate or something.
It's funny though, because that police house had no central heating. I can remember the floor.
Stone cold, wasn't it?
Yes, stone cold and condensation.
I consider it was a new house. Yeah. And we used to have like a coat on the bed in the winter. Because, I tell a lie. Coat on the bed was in the old police house because you could write your name on the frost inside the window.
Those were the days.
We must have been one of the first ones to have a phone there, because we had a phone, obviously, in the little office sleeping.
Yeah.
And I used to get the Police Gazette come through every day. And my job, once a week, my dad paid me a little shilling, to tick off the arrests. It was who had been arrested, who'd done what, and you had to tick them off for some reason in the Police Gazette. And he was there for 15 years.
Till he became sergeant in the 60s, and then we moved to Windward Way.
His sergeant kept saying, you need to take the exams because your pension will go up. I didn't even really wanted to leave Carlton. No. He knew everyone, and to be a sergeant, he had to go into Lowestoft Station and work shifts there, and he never liked it as much.
We used to go down the lane. As kids used to, down to the marsh, and it was just, you had quite a free and easy life, really. As a child, you weren't sort of restrictions, sort of don't do this and don't do that.
You just ran free. Andrew, one of our brothers, he was a bit of a tearaway. He came home one day with a swan over his shoulder. He said, I found this dead. I think it hit a power line or something. And Dad, he said, take it back where you found it. And not all the way back.
Not before it frightened Mother, because he stuck it in the outside toilet on the seat.
On the seat.
And they came home.
Mother found this swan on the seat in the outside toilet.
Actually, I was just thinking, there's one memory I can remember now of Carlton marshes, was when it was particularly bad, snowy weather, and there was one of the ponds was iced over, and Dad got us some skates and took us down to the marsh to have a skate on. It must have been very thick, because he wouldn't have took a chance.
Yeah, it was just a country.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Thanks, Christine and Geraldine. And love to your mother, Joan, who still lives in Carlton and has just celebrated her 102nd birthday. I certainly feel lucky to have had my own country childhood in Carlton Colville. I never went skating on the marshes, but do remember 6 foot of snow falling on the village in the late 1970s. And of course, that long, hot summer of 1976. But these days in Suffolk, we do seem to have a lot of dry spells, and people are always saying, well, we do need the rain. There's a lovely old book about the Suffolk dialect by A.O.D. Claxton, and in it he lists all the local words for rain and phrases about it too. It seemed like a perfect thing to make a poem out of. The rain in the east. If gulls are scattered all over a field, not following the tractor, that looked like rain. When rooks wind the clock and fly round in circles, when pigs run with straw in their mouths, you can bet that's gonna rain. If there are many bright stars out, but not on a frosty night, when the bubbles rise from the bottom of the pond, that's hully gonna rain. And that's gonna be stormy when the midges bite, if cattle run about with their tails up, or if the new moon carries the old moon in her lap, that'll come down suffin nasty. A mackerel sky is never long dry, that do just smur. That'll rain, but not silly hard. That keep a wetting a little. And cool heck, we do need the rain.